Congratulations, we are now at the very last topic for the semester. System of linear inequalities of two variables. It's just another topic being covered in 5.5. So now the idea now is we have a system of inequality of two variables. So we can look at something like this. It can be a 2x, right, minus y greater than 1 as we had before, and a 4x plus 2y, right, greater than or equal to 6. Okay, something like that. Okay, and we would like to, the only way we can do for this, once again, we actually only want to graph the solution. Graph the solution. Okay? That system. Alright, so now once again I'm going to switch over to the graph page. First of all, before we can actually switch over to the graph page, then let's apply the same trick that we've been doing for linear inequality. Okay? I'm going to solve for y. I want to solve for y here to make it stand by itself. So for the first one right there, you can subtract the 2x to the other side, right? And you can have minus y greater than minus 2x plus 1, am I right? And then also for the second inequality, you can subtract the 4x to the other side. So you got 2y greater than or equals to minus 4x plus 6. Okay? Are you getting me here? And then in my next step right here, in the first inequality, I'm going to have to either multiply both sides by a -1 or divide both sides by a -1, whichever way you want to do. But make sure you have to switch the inequality sign. Okay? You have to switch the inequality sign because we are multiplying and dividing by a negative number. And so after multiplying the left side by a -1, then you're going to end up with a positive 1. Positive y, right? And your inequality here would become a reversed. And then your left side here is going to be, now the sign here is going to change, right? All the sign here is going to get changed. So I got 2x positive this time and minus 1 this time because I multiplied the whole right side here by a -1. And then on the bottom equation, on the bottom inequality here, I simply just have to divide both sides by a 2, right? So on the left side, divide by a 2, I have to simply y. And notice, this time I'm dividing by a positive number, so I do not have to worry about switching the inequality. So it's going to be greater than or equals to. Now, on the right side, it becomes minus 2x plus 3. Okay? And so what I have here is, once again, this time, I think of having two lines together. I'm going to think of having two lines. Right? So now I am ready to move over to my graph page so that I can start graphing the solution. So on my graph page, as you can see, right? So on my graph page, what's going to happen here is I'm going to draw my x and y's. I'm going to draw my x and y axis here. X-axis, y-axis. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and draw my first line. I am going to draw my first line, and my first line here is going to look like this. Now we want 2x minus 1, right? Y equals 2x minus 1. So once again, -1 is the intercept, right? And 2 is the slope here. So I'm gonna have my line looking like this. Okay? And by the way, notice the inequality sign right here is a strictly less than, so I want my line has to be a dashed line. Okay? My line, I want it to be a dashed line. Okay? So my line here, that line is the line 2x, y equals 2x minus 1. But then this time I want the region. So the inequality says less than, strictly less than, so I want my region to be below that, and the line here, this time I want it dashed. So my region is the region below the line. Okay, is everybody with me so far? Alright, so now, next for my second inequality, right, I'm going to graph it again. On the same graph, I'm going to graph it again. My y-intercept this time is a positive 3, so it's right there. Okay, it's right there. And then the slope is a negative 2 this time, so my line is going to look like this. And for a head start, this time the inequality is greater than or equals to. So it does involve the equal sign. So meaning I do want my line to be a solid line. So this time I'm going to draw my line to be a solid line because the inequality involves the equal sign. Okay, so this is my line. Y equals minus 2x plus 3. Now what I want here, what my inequality tells me that I want y greater than or equals to minus 2x plus 3. So I would need to shade the region above the line, right? So I would have to shade the region above the line. So now, this time I do see some overlapping of the two regions, right? I see the overlapping of the two regions. And so now, the overlapping of the two regions, the blue and the red, the overlapping between the two regions, the blue and the red, is the solution to my, that region right here, is the solution to my inequality, to my system of inequality, to my system right there. Okay? So, we can look at another example. So how about we have so once again I'm going to do example 2. So this time let's just do something a little nicer. I want to graph the solution of, and I want x minus y, okay, greater than or equals to 1, and then y is less than 2, and then x is x plus y, minus 3x plus y, greater than 3. Okay, so I have a system of 3 things. Alright? So the way to solve for it, so once again in my next step, I should always solve for each of these inequalities. I should always solve for the y to make it stand by itself, right? So for a quick solve, I have y less than or equals to, right, x minus 1. Right? I mean, we've spent a lot of time working with inequality, so I'm not going to go into too much detail of how I got that here, okay? But once again, you can think of subtracting the x to both sides for that first inequality right here, and then after all, multiply the two sides by a negative 1 or divide the two sides by a negative 1. That would cause the inequality to change direction, and then this is how you're going to end up with that. Now, at least up to this point here, you have your y standing by itself on the left side. Okay? The second equation, the second inequality, the y already standing by itself on the left side, so I'm happy. I don't want to do anything further. The last one here, of course, y is not standing by itself yet, so I want to get y by itself on the left side. This time I'm going to add 3x to both sides, right? And I'm going to end up with y greater than 3x plus 3. Okay? So, and for that last inequality, once again, I have y standing by itself on the left side, so I'm happy, right? So I have all 3 inequalities here solved for y. So I am now about ready to graph my solution again. So to graph the solution of this system inequality, okay, what I need to do, once again, let me just spend some time drawing my axis. I'm going to draw my axes here. Alright, so that's my x-axis, that's my y-axis. So starting with the first one, think of the line y equals x minus 1, right? So negative 1 would be the y-intercept, and then the slope is positive 1. So, and the inequality here does include the equal sign, so I do want my line to be solid, right? I do want my line to be solid. So this time it's going to look like this. I do want my line to be solid. That's my line, right? And then so this time, I want the regions below, because my inequality says less than or equals to. So now on the line and below the line. So I want on the red region right here, below the line. Below the line, seriously. Okay? Alright, so now moving on to my next inequality. Let's think of the line y equals 2. Think of the line y equals 2. So y equals 2 would be this line, but this time the inequality sign does not include the equal sign. So my line has to be a dashed line. My line has to be dashed. So it's this line right here, y equals 2. Okay. Y equals 2. And then my inequality says I want below the line. I want below the line because it's less than. So I want the regions below the line. So this is my region right here. Below the line, right? And you're going to start seeing some overlapping, right? You're starting to see some overlapping between the blue and the red, right? And then lastly, my last line here is going to be the line y greater than 3x plus 3. So it's going to be with intercept 3 right here. Think of the line to y equals 3x plus 3, then intercept is 3, and then my next point is right there. So I have a line like this. And once again, the sign here is strictly greater. I mean, it does not include the equal sign, so I need my line to be dashed one more time. So this time my line is dashed. Okay? I want my line is dashed. And I want it greater than, I want it to be above the regions. Okay, so this is the line that is above. Okay, so it's this region here I'm talking about. Okay, that is the regions. Now I'm starting to see some overlapping between the blue and the green, right? And here I'm starting to see some regions, some overlapping between the blue, green, and red together. So really my solution is just that little tiny portion only. See, we got red, right? We got red. And we also got blue. We got blue mixed with that, right? Okay. And we also got green. Okay, so that's the region I'm looking for right there. Okay?